Yeah, you should come on a little front.
Great.
I know.
Hi.
We're like the same height.
We are. 5'7.5". You're 5'3"?
I'm 5'3". I'm just loud.
Oh, yeah, you feel like you're 5'7".
People tell me I feel like I'm 6'5".
5'1"? You gotta come up in the front.
Yeah, of course.
Come on in.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Yes.
We're all friends today.
Yeah. We're all here for the same cause.
That's right. Let's get this thing passed.
Gotta check and make sure it's the right side up. That's always my mistake.
Having to see you. You cover your face, how are they going to see you?
I'm all about it. You know, you know what, get in. I'm all about it.
Right in front of me. Yeah, you got it. Perfect.
Before this
I don't think anything in education, but I think part of this is to see what the state legislature what they're going to do. It's likely going to be a cut from what it was. $1 billion, it's $1 billion. Yeah, and I think that's good. Obviously, if I have money out, how much you pay, money on what it's largely
Fight. Housing is a human right.
Fight.
Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right. Fight. Housing is a human right.
What do we want?
Housing!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Housing!
When do we
we go.
want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Social housing.
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we
want?
want?
Social housing!
When do we want it?
Now!
If we don't get it, we
shut it down!
We don't get it,
Shut it down!
We don't get it,
Shut it down!
We don't get it.
Shut it down!
If we don't get it, we
Shut it down!
Make some noise, yo.
¡Sí se puede! 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 ¡Sí se puede!
Sí se puede.
¡Sí se puede!
Yes, we can do something.
Yes.
Yes. We can do something.
Yes.
Yes, we can do something. We can do something.
Se ve, se siente, el pueblo está presente. 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 Se ve, se siente, el pueblo está presente.
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
All the rent, all the rent, all the rent is too damn high.
All the rent, all the rent, all the rent is too damn high. All the rent, all the rent, all the rent is too damn high. All the rent, all the rent, all the rent is too damn high.
Because of greediness, because of greediness, I said the rent is too damn high.
Because of greediness, because of greediness, all the rent is too damn high.
All the rent, all the rent,
All the rent, all the rent is too damn high. All the rent, all the rent, all the rent, all the rent is too damn
Culture breed. Chance.
One more time than everybody else.
Somebody speak Spanish over here? Let's do it in Spanish.
¿En español?
Sí, en la
Claro.
unión está la fuerza, ¿no?
Claro.
Ok, ¿empiezas?
Yo empiezo. Usted empieza. Yo le sigo.
Don't be shy, we try to pass it out here.
Well, I guess we're done here.
Greedy landlords you can't hide.
Hey, landlord readers gotta go. There's so many.
Want to start that one? Okay. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Landlord greed has got to go! Hey, hey!
Landlord greed has got to go!
Well, it's teamwork.
Okay, here comes some action.
Jody, are you practicing?
Get ready, everybody.
All right.
Hello, people.
Reps. Have a rap.
Here's our sponsor.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So we're here today because everyone deserves a safe, comfortable, affordable place to live. And without this, nothing in your life works. Not your family, not your education, not your health care, not anything. And a home is more than just four walls and a roof over your head. It is a source of stability and security. It's a place that you can make your own and take pride in. A home gives you the freedom and the opportunity to build the life that you want. But for many Americans, this dream is out of reach. And more than 90% of U.S. counties, minimum wage workers can't afford even a modest one-bedroom apartment. Working families in some communities in Minneapolis are bidding for homes against the world's biggest and wealthiest private financial firms, and they're losing. Every day, Americans are trying to figure out how to afford their lives, and millions of our friends and neighbors have a hard time finding and affording a place to rent, let alone putting the money together for a down payment to buy a home of their own. Okay, so how did we get here? Well, for decades, the United States has not invested enough in housing, in building housing. We've severely neglected public housing, and we've outsourced much of housing development to the private market. And because of restrictive local zoning laws and rising construction costs, we haven't built nearly enough. Housing supply collapsed in the 2008 foreclosure crisis, and private equity firms and other big corporate interests moved in, and they were focused on delivering returns for their investors, not on solving the housing shortage.
That ain't right.
In Minneapolis and around the country, in Minnesota and around the country, investors with deep pockets started snatching up starter homes with all-cash offers. And families are being outbid by mysterious buyers thousands of miles away. Big corporate landlords, they're raising rents and they're ignoring tenant calls to fix the leaks and take care of the pests. And our constituents are paying the price.
That ain't right.
And frankly, honestly, they cannot afford it anymore.
That's right.
There's something broken about our system when people who live in neighborhoods that they've lived in for years have to move away from friends and family and jobs because they can't find a place to live. Right. And when teachers and firefighters and other essential workers can't afford to live in the communities that they serve, that is just wrong. So we have a severe housing crisis in this country, and the private market cannot meet this moment on its own. Congress must act. So I am grateful that Vice President Harris and Governor Walz have offered up detailed, comprehensive, serious plans to jumpstart home construction, to lower housing costs, and to go after big companies that are rigging the market against renters and home buyers. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and I have seen the same challenge, and we have a plan to meet it with the Homes Act. Our bill lays out a new way to meet people's needs through social housing. Instead of treating real estate as a commodity in the speculative market, we would underwrite the construction of millions of new homes so that they can remain affordable for the long term. It's a public option to build homes either for rent or for home ownership so people can build equity. Our bill would establish a new development authority to finance and build millions of homes in big cities and small towns all over the country. Rent would be permanently affordable, so as your income goes up or down, you pay more or less, but you don't have to move. Every home would be built to modern, efficient standards, which would lower utility bills, and every home would be built to last by a high-quality union member. Our Our bill is a new model that levels the playing field for ordinary people who dream of a stable, delightful, affordable place to live. It's a new strategy, but it is a model that is working around the country, around the world, and it is rooted in the history and the traditions of the people and the regions that Alexandria and I represent. We know that housing looks a lot different in Bemidji, Minnesota than in the Bronx, and so a one-size-fits-all approach, it's not going to work. That's why our bill would task local and tribal governments, housing authorities, nonprofits, and community land trusts like the Rondo Community Land Trust in St. Paul and One Roof Community Housing in Duluth, whom you'll hear from shortly. It tasks these trusted local organizations to develop homes that will blend seamlessly into the community and meet the needs of the people who live there. We believe that housing is a human right, like food or health care. And a home, a shelter, is the oldest and most basic of human needs. The Homes Act will create a new option to make this right a reality for everyone. We cannot rely on the private market to do it alone. The Homes Act creates another way, a new way, to give millions of Americans a safe, dignified, affordable place to call home. Now, I'm so excited and honored to welcome Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to the podium. Congressman Ocasio-Cortez reached out to me several months ago and asked about collaborating on this project. It has been a fantastic experience to work with her and her incredible team. Thank you so much for your leadership and your great ideas and your good work. Please welcome Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And can we give another round of applause to Senator Smith for her incredible leadership and work here? It's really so exciting, and I can't say how much of a pleasure it's been to work with you and under your leadership and with your office as well. It's just been so fantastic, and this is really the core of what it takes in order to get things done in Washington, to have not just bicameral support, but support where we can unite people across regions, backgrounds, and cultures and states in order to legislate for the best of the American people. So thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? It's a stunning day out here in Washington, and it's a perfect day to stand together and take action for housing as a human right. Thank you. Today we are here to introduce a game-changing piece of legislation, the Homes Act. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Senator Tina Smith in co-leading this legislation. And I also want to take a moment to give a special shout out to all of the amazing folks who made the journey on buses this morning and planes, trains, and automobiles. From the Bronx and Queens and Minnesota and every advocate in between, I'm just so incredibly grateful because it is really your voices and your organizing and your effort, building power, people power from the ground up that actually can build momentum to make things like this possible. So thank you. I want everyone here to imagine a not too distant future where you are able to wake up in your new home. One that is beautiful, affordable, and perfect for raising or supporting your family. In this vision, the energy that's powering your home isn't dirty, and it's not choking the air with pollutants or flaring up your kids' asthma. The water flowing from the taps is fresh and clean, and you don't have to worry about lead paint on the walls. The schools in your community are excellent. And when you step outside, you find a vibrant playground where children are already laughing and playing. Your kids join them, forging connections and growing up in a strong, supportive community. And just around the corner from that home, a community center is buzzing with activities where seniors are gardening or bird watching. The community is learning to cook together and just celebrating the richness of life. This thing isn't a distant dream, nor should it be a luxury. This was the reality for so many families in America just a few decades ago. I know that my parents, like many others, worked their entire lives to achieve a modest and stable life. And decades ago, they were able to scrounge and save to buy a home. It's unbelievable. Just a couple decades ago, they were able to purchase a small apartment in Parkchester for $45,000. It's crazy, right? But in the years since, the housing market has grown increasingly speculative, and it got a lot tougher for working families across the country to find a decent home. Wall Street started to see houses as slot machines and started gambling on one of the most foundational parts of life for the American people. And when Wall Street lost, like in 2008, it was us, working people, who had to pay the price, not the bankers who made the reckless bets in the first place. When I was in college and my dad passed from an unexpected cancer, my mom fought tooth and nail to keep our house. And by the time I graduated from college, we were on the edge of foreclosure. We had to sell our home before it was taken from us, leaving us at the mercy of investors and big banks who were just waiting for us to lose our foothold. I remember so clearly being able to have a cup of tea or coffee at the table and watching bankers and investors roll up in cars taking pictures of our house before it was even taken, or while we were still living in it. And plenty of other Americans can tell you that if you are a young family or just starting out and wanting to buy a home without generational wealth or help, or if you want to feel like you can rent a new place without fear of being priced out in a year or two, it can feel nearly impossible. This is not the American dream that we were promised. We are here today because that is the unfortunate reality for so many working Americans. And we are here today because another way is possible, and we are here to make it happen. In New York, the average minimum wage worker would have to clock in 104 hours a week just to scrape by for a modest one-bedroom apartment. 104 hours a week. And what are they left with? A mere 64 hours to sleep, pick up prescriptions, get their kids to school, cook a meal, and maybe find a moment to rest under the roof they work so hard to keep. If time is money, we are getting robbed. This country is staring down a full-blown housing crisis, a crisis where affordable housing is slipping further out of reach, where nonprofit housing is scarce, and where Wall Street and corporate America's greed is perpetuating our despair. More than half of American renters are spending more than 30% of their income on rent, more than ever before in U.S. history. Meanwhile, private equity and the 1% are vacuuming up our housing stock and squeezing out homeowners and renters alike. Nationwide, 1/3 of all residential real estate purchases are carried out in all cash. All cash. In Manhattan, over 50% of all residential purchases are carried out in all cash. This simply isn't right. This is crazy. But let me be clear. We do not have to live like this. We need to put homes back in the hands of the people and reclaim the home as a basic human right, not a commodity for profit first. A home should be a sanctuary, a place of stability and security, not a source of endless stress. The Homes Act offers a real solution to the scale and the severity of this crisis. This bill will transform housing in America by establishing a national housing development authority to acquire and develop real estate, creating and maintaining a stock of permanent, affordable housing. This bill recognizes that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to the housing crisis, and it is aimed to uplift the diverse set of living, breathing communities that working Americans have been building for decades. From public housing in places like New York and Puerto Rico, to rural housing cooperatives in the Midwest, to community land trusts and tenants unions in California. Any home that's built for people, not profit, will be able to benefit from this authority. In its first decade, the Homes Act will invest $300 billion into our communities, funding over 1 million new housing units. Over 850,000 of those units will be for low and extremely low income families. This includes both single and multifamily housing with strong tenant protections. There has been a lot, yes. Thank you. There has been a lot of talk about building new housing in this country, but too often we don't talk about who will be building that new housing. Right. This bill is about building good union jobs just as much as it is about building affordable homes. Every year, this bill will put over 150,000 Americans to work in good union jobs every year to build affordable housing. From construction to operation to maintenance, this bill will generate more than 400,000 good-paying jobs across industries every year. And we know this plan is possible because we have done it before. During the New Deal, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt created a development authority much like the one we are proposing today. Folks may not be familiar with this history, but in New York, FDR's visionary program is still all around us. His authority built the first public housing in this country, including the Williamsburg houses in Brooklyn, and it went on to inspire communities like Co-op City in the Bronx and Electchester in Queens that are still thriving today. So to our detractors, we say this plan is not only necessary, it is reasoned, it is rational, and it is right. It is rooted in the American dream, in the fundamental idea that everyone deserves a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to welcome to the podium Noah Hobbs, who is Policy Director at One Roof Community Housing in Duluth. Welcome, Noah.
Thank you, Senator Smith and Representative Ocasio-Cortez for introducing this. Like Senator Smith said, I'm Noah Hobbs. I'm the Policy Director at One Roof Community Housing. We are a multi-family, single-family affordable housing developer out of Duluth, Minnesota, which is a Rust Belt port town of about 86,000 people. But we do work that goes up to Grand Marais, Grand Rapids, Two Harbors, Proctor, and Cloquet. So the northeastern part of Minnesota is our service region. So outside of Duluth, it's not a lot of folks living there. And so we've done 350 community land trust homes and also about 220 resales. So we've helped about 600 families achieve the American dream through home ownership. And then we've also redeveloped and developed about 330 units of a multifamily affordable housing all across northeastern Minnesota, so folks that aren't ready for home ownership yet can still have an affordable place to call home. One thing that we see in greater Minnesota is the fact that a 2x4 costs the same whether you're in Duluth, Grand Rapids, New York, Milwaukee, or Chicago. And we also have lower incomes in greater Minnesota and greater America, and so there's an even greater mismatch of what that cost of home is and the cost to build, because that doesn't come down with the cost of goods. Also, municipalities, smaller municipalities in greater Minnesota, smaller counties don't have staff, city staff or county staff that are dedicated or knowledgeable enough to pull off affordable housing projects, or they're dealing with all the other issues that face their communities, and they can't do this because their staffs of 2, 4, 6, or 8, and they're unable to do this issue. And financing is another huge issue in greater Minnesota. We don't have as many philanthropic funders, foundations, as more urban areas do, and financing is harder to come from. We don't have as large financial institutions that are willing to provide the capital, let alone take the risk. So this would fill a huge need in that. And so also the biggest thing is this is probably the first outside of 2007 with the housing market collapse and with the American Rescue Plan Act, the single investment in housing in the past 30 years. And so One Roof is incredibly excited to endorse it. And again, thanks to Senator Smith and Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noah. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Now, please join me in welcoming Makia Griffin, who is Executive Director of the Rondo Community Land Trust in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you so much to Senator Smith and Representative Ocasio-Cortez. As stated, I'm Makia Griffin. I am a proud daughter and byproduct and product of the Rondo community in St. Paul, Minnesota. The Rondo community in St. Paul, Minnesota is the largest black community in the state at one point, and it was devastated with the influx of infrastructure, Highway 94. And that was back in the 50s. And the community has still suffered through continued disinvestment or investment in the community, which really sometime back in the 80s, 30 years ago, community members got together and said, we need to figure out how do we preserve affordable housing in the Rondo community. Right. And they landed on the Community Land Trust as a sure model to be able to not only hold down the ability for home ownership over the long term, but also community and culture. I always like to start by saying that I don't know how many of you know this, but the Community Land Trust movement itself was created through the Black experience, through the Civil Rights movement. When political violence told the Sherrards, we need to do something different. And taking and owning community land together and benefiting from its economic benefits above together, weathering the ups and downs in communities together is exactly what this bill will be able to continue to forward and make larger. That work that was so pivotal back in the 60s actually has propagated community land trust across this nation and internationally. I am so proud today to stand here not only representing the very tall, wide shoes and tall shoulders I have to stand on in my own community as a daughter of Rondo. And while I do have the privilege of supporting affordable home ownership across a county in the city of St. Paul and Ramsey County in Minnesota, I do have that weight and responsibility of ensuring that my community, Rondo, also has what it needs. I'd also like to state we were the first community land trust in the state of Minnesota. We were also the first community land trust in the state of Minnesota to apply the community land trust movement to commercial uses. This is all about, right? This is all about how do we want to see our communities thrive and prosper. This is about coming together and creating people power. This is about creating the communities that communities want to see. That's right. And this bill is so important to be able to give choice and autonomy to communities, whether they want to own a community land trust home, whether they want to own a community land trust home that is on community land trusted land, that's a cooperative. There's so many things that we can do to provide home ownership opportunities, to provide safe and affordable rental opportunities, and to be able to give people the time that they need in order to make themselves whole and get along their own economic continuum. And if we are not invested in the people of today, we have no hope for our little ones that are coming up. That's right. It's important, it's so important that we take the profit out of housing and make and ensure that it benefits to everyone that needs to have a home. Thank you again for all the work that is being done today.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the incredible Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, family. And indeed, not only are we movement family, but we are one human family. And that's what brings us all to this moment, because we recognize that we're all tied to one another. I want to begin by thanking my sister in service, Representative Ocasio-Cortez. Thank you for your indefatigable, visionary leadership in housing justice and so many other issues of consequence. And I would share those same compliments to Senator Smith. Thank you for both of them, for their leadership and for convening us today to introduce this critical and necessary legislation, the Homes Act. The Homes Act. Everyone should have a home. Not just shelter, not be warehoused, a place of belonging. The Homes Act. I want to express my gratitude also to Aisha Hernandez, Makia Griffin, Noah Hobbs for being here today and sharing your stories. As I've said so often, I look forward to a day where people do not have to weaponize their lived experiences in order to compel action from their government, but I'm grateful for those every time they do it. Every time I return home to my district, the Massachusetts 7th, in every room I'm in, one issue comes up over and over again. Whether I'm in Roxbury or Cambridge, whether I'm in Chelsea or Randolph, and that issue is housing. Today, I'm thinking about the single parent, like the household I grew up in, working 2 minimum wage jobs, sleeping in their car because rent has skyrocketed beyond their reach. I'm thinking about the veteran who served our country only to be left to battle their PTSD on the streets because they can't find a place to call home. I'm thinking of the elderly couple who lived in their community for decades, pushed out by gentrification, and left to watch as luxury condos are built over the homes they raised their children in. These stories are an indictment of the nationwide failure to ensure that housing, a fundamental human right, is accessible to all. The rent is just too damn high. But let me be clear. This housing crisis is not a natural disaster. It is a man-made catastrophe, born from decades of repeatedly prioritizing profits over people. You know, very often progressives in our righteous indignation are misunderstood, or some people give us a bad rap for being too bold, too urgent, too aspirational, too ambitious. Well, I'm all right with being audacious enough to believe that housing is a human right and everyone deserves a home. I will be on that side of history. The Homes Act is more than just legislation. It is a lifeline. It's a visionary solution that recognizes housing is a public good, a simple truth. This bill would create more than 400,000 jobs, build and preserve 1.25 million housing units that are actually affordable. When a child has a stable home, they can focus on their education. When parents aren't burdened by crushing rent, they can invest in their family's future. When seniors age in place, they can remain vital members of the communities they help to build. Housing is a public good. And this bill is about more than just bricks and mortar. It's about righting the wrongs of racist housing policies that excluded communities of color for decades. We can create. I'm just audacious, ambitious, and aspirational enough to believe that we can create a society where everyone is safe, has access to safe, stable, and affordable housing. Is not just a right, but a reality for all. Another world is possible, and we are building it together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Our last speaker today is Aisha Hernandez with the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing at Co-op City. Aisha.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aisha Hernandez. I've been living in Co-op City for about 8 years. I was, sorry, I got confused. Let me start again. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Aisha Hernandez. I'm a resident and co-owner of my home in Co-op City for the last 8 years. Before living in Co-op City, I was a renter, paying $3,000 a month and $6,000 in utilities. Cooperative housing gave me the pathway to home ownership and sustainable cost of living. Now I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with a monthly maintenance for about $1,400. It isn't always smooth in Co-op City. Yes. A few years ago, my neighbors and I got together and formed a coalition to save affordable housing, to make sure that our housing stays affordable, that our management is serving in the best interest of co-owners, and fight for any attempt of any corporate takeover of Co-op City.
We have done this because we're co-owners, and we're not in the whims of corporate landlords, which is why I'm here today in support of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Smith to support the Homes Act bill. We're in the midst of a national housing crisis, and I want my fellow Americans from California to enjoy, from New York to California, to enjoy the same access and safe, affordable housing that COOP has given me. We have a lot of work to do, and this bill, we must make sure that it takes it. So let's get it done.
Good job. That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our speakers. And now we would be happy to take a few questions from the press if anybody has any questions. We're going to just take questions from the press for now, Joel. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. All right. Good? Okay. Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.